launched last month. PEP is an exclusive online community for Pittsburgh-based startups to help them navigate both local and global startup resources. PEP is powered by the One Valley Passport platform and was developed in partnership with Ascender and the Richard King Mellon Foundation. Eligible Pittsburgh-based companies now have access to a growing roster of Pittsburgh mentors, investors, resources, events, and a community of founders. Head over to the Pittsburgh Entrepreneurship Platform to take advantage of our launch rate of $99. Starting on June 24th, prices will go up. Follow the banner at the bottom of the screen to take advantage of this early offer. In addition to PEP, One Valley is gearing up for the launch of our Pittsburgh Innovation Center at the Roundhouse in Hazelwood Green. If you were here with us last week, you heard our CEO, Nikhil Sinha, share some more about our vision for this exciting development. Just in case you missed it, here's some of that message now.
For many decades, Silicon Valley has been synonymous with technology, entrepreneurship, and startup-fueled innovation. But over the past several years, we've seen the incredible growth of tech entrepreneurship in many other parts of the US and around the world. We believe that Pittsburgh is and has been throughout history one of the strongest and most important innovation communities in the world. As the innovation landscape evolves, Pittsburgh continuously rises to meet the challenge, and we're excited to be part of its next chapter. The launch of the Pittsburgh Entrepreneurship Platform and the upcoming launch of the One Valley Innovation Center at the Roundhouse are just two of many investments we plan to make into the Pittsburgh community. As members of the Hazelwood Green community specifically, we see a remarkable opportunity to create momentum around the development of what will be one of the most exciting innovation hubs in the world. In the near term, as Tara mentioned, we hope you'll join us on July 8th for the launch of our Innovation Center, which will house and support startups, accelerator partners, venture capitalists, nonprofits, and corporate innovation leaders, and to watch the top 6 finalists of the Pittsburgh Startup Challenge pitch for over $50,000 in prizes. In the long term, we're excited to welcome startups, students, local businesses, curious lifelong learners, and the broader community to participate in our regular events and workshops, both at the Roundhouse and virtually, and to connect with the entrepreneurial ecosystem that is developing in Hazelwood Green. I can tell you firsthand, having just visited the Roundhouse yesterday, that it is one of the most unique spaces I've ever seen. The history of the Roundhouse is preserved in the exposed brick, in the original wood ceilings, and an unbelievable restored industrial crane. Modern glass, detailed elements and metals, and state-of-the-art furnishings give the building a futuristic energy. We see the past and the future of Pittsburgh coming together in that one building. The center is filled with artwork, light fixtures, and furniture pieces from local artists commissioned through an incredible partnership with Monmade. We look forward to continuing to work with local creators to make the Roundhouse our Pittsburgh home, and we look forward to sharing it with all of you very soon. To see the space virtually right now and to come in and take physical tours of the space, please visit the onevalley.com/tour Pittsburgh website. In addition to the Roundhouse, we have built and launched the Pittsburgh Entrepreneurship Platform, an exclusive hub for Pittsburgh-based startups to connect with both local and global resources and communities. Developed in partnership with the Richard King Mellon Foundation and Ascender, this virtual community is already very active. We've closed our first startup challenge on the platform. We've onboarded our first cohort of startups and mentors, and we will be very excited to shortly share a calendar of hybrid, in-person, and virtual events. In the coming months, we look forward to growing our online Pittsburgh community as we launch our physical innovation center as well. We'd like to extend a special thanks to all of you, our partners across the Pittsburgh ecosystem who have made both of these initiatives possible. During an unprecedented and challenging year, we were able to realize our vision for Pittsburgh only because of the support of everyone in the community. Our mission at One Valley is to support entrepreneurs, accelerate startups, and empower organizations across the globe that foster entrepreneurial and innovation communities. Through our innovation centers and our global online community of close to 200,000 entrepreneurs and innovators, we're excited to connect Pittsburgh's growing entrepreneurial ecosystem to the global resources they need to create, launch, build, and scale their businesses while staying rooted in the Pittsburgh community. Thank you. Good luck to all of today's finalists, and we look forward to welcoming you all at the Roundhouse on July 8th. Back to you, Tara.
We are so excited about the launch of the Roundhouse, and it's fast approaching. We actually have a special treat for you today. We are here in Pittsburgh getting everything set up before our grand opening at the Startup Challenge Grand Finals on July 8th. And some of our team is at the Roundhouse right now. Alec, over to you to give our audience a sneak peek.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is Alec Wright. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at One Valley, and I'm incredibly excited to say that I'm coming to you live from One Valley, Pittsburgh at the Roundhouse at Hazelwood Green. We just got possession of the building a couple days ago, and we are hard at work getting it ready to host dozens, hundreds of entrepreneurs, nonprofits, fast-growing tech startups, social innovators, and the innovation community of Pittsburgh. We can't wait to welcome you all here to tour the space, join as members. And so as Nikhil and as Tara mentioned, go to theonevalley.com/tour Pittsburgh to see more about the space. And we can't wait to see you on July 8th here at Hazelwood Green, where you'll see the top companies that have emerged from our Pittsburgh Startup Challenge. But now, without further ado, let's get it back to Tara and let's hear some of those pitches.
Thank you, Alec. Again, just one more time to schedule your tour to see the Roundhouse. The sneak peek you just got, be standing where Alec stood. Schedule your own live tour. Head over to theonevalley.com/tour Pittsburgh. And also, if anyone has any questions about the upcoming Innovation Center or the Pittsburgh Entrepreneurship Platform or the Startup Challenge, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. On behalf of my colleagues at One Valley, I want to thank everyone that has contributed to making this vision a reality, especially the folks at Almono, the Richard King Mellon Foundation, and Ascender. It has been an honor working with you all, and we truly look forward to continuing to make strides together. We're deeply committed to supporting the growing entrepreneurial ecosystem in Pittsburgh, and we look forward to creating new opportunities with other organizations as well. Without further ado, let's get started with the pitching portion of today. I would like to start by introducing our judges. Our judges for this evening are Nehal Bojak, Managing Director at Pittsburgh Creates, Juan Scarlett, Managing Director of One Valley Ventures, and Bobby Zapala, Managing Partner at Localized Capital Management. I want to thank you all for being here and give you a quick moment to introduce yourselves. So Nehal, why don't we start with you?
Hey everybody, good afternoon everyone. My name is Nehal Bojak, and like Tara mentioned, I'm the Managing Director of Pittsburgh Creates, which is an industry-facing innovation center that sits at the intersection of Pitt and UPMC. Work with established corporations, kind of corporate innovation groups to kind of further their innovation needs and as they move from early stage all the way to acquisition or consolidation within the UPMC pipeline. I've had a long career in innovation and entrepreneurship, having been part of the region's ecosystem in its formative years. So this is very exciting where we're at almost 20 years later. I ran and led 3 specific industry-focused accelerators and early stage investment programs. And through that role, I've had exposure to almost every startup that has passed through Pittsburgh. I've been an EIR and mentor to about 150 plus startups, leading them to fundraising goals, growth stage, and then successful exits. So I'm very excited to be here today and watch some of these pitches. I'm excited at the energy that One Valley is bringing to the region, and can't wait to hear those pitches. So.
Thanks so much, Nehal. Juan, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thanks, Tara. Juan Scarlett. I lead One Valley Ventures, where we work with partners to develop and execute on venture investment strategies across the One Valley ecosystem. We recently launched One Valley Ventures Fund, a pre-seed and seed stage fund focused on investing in standout digital transformation companies from across the One Valley ecosystem and our partner networks. I've been in the venture capital industry for the past 14 plus years and broadly working in technology, investing and research for the past 20. Prior to joining One Valley, I led an early stage fund called Nimble Ventures and also a growth stage investing effort for Passport Capital. I'm also very excited to continue to interact with the vibrant Pittsburgh ecosystem and very much look forward to meeting more of its wonderful founders. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to hearing the pitches. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Juan. Bobby, would you round us out?
Thanks, Tara. Then my name is Bobby Zapala. I'm a managing partner of Localized Capital Management. We're a Pittsburgh-based patient capital investment fund. Also a founder of Ascender and current chair of the board there. And so really excited to be partnered with One Valley as they come into Pittsburgh. Kind of feel like a guest host of Jeopardy or something, where it's like, oh, you know, just heard some great pitches last time and I can't wait. You guys have big shoes to fill, but it's true. The last round of semifinal pitches were fantastic and I'm looking forward to hearing from the participants today. So good luck to all of you.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Nehal and Juan as well. Today, you three have a very difficult task of judging our 8 amazing semifinalists on their pitches, but there can only be 3 finalists moving forward. So today we'll be hearing from JJ, CEO of Talk Me Up, Sana, CEO of Rubidetection, Paris, CEO of Perry, Michael, CEO of Lean FM, Jesse, CEO of Gridfruit, Stuart, CEO of eStat Actuation, Gung, CEO of Civic Champs, and David, CEO of Aware.ai. A reminder about what's at stake tonight: our top 3 semifinalists will join our top 6, who will compete live on stage on July 8th at the One Valley Pittsburgh Innovation Center here at the Roundhouse in Hazelwood Green. Each of our July 8th winners will walk away with 1 year of free access to the Roundhouse and the Pittsburgh Entrepreneurship Platform, as well as a non-dilutive cash prize from a pool of $50,000. So let's go over some of the ways that you, as the audience, can take part in the action. First, be sure and ask questions to our pitching startups in the chat. If we do have time during the judges' questions, we will get to those audience questions. Next, please rate each startup after their pitch. Your audience votes will determine the Audience Choice Award. And by rating, you yourself will be entered into a raffle for the chance to win 1 free year of Passport for yourself. And finally, if you would like to connect with any of our pitching startups, simply ask for an introduction through the Meet the Startups tab at the top of your page. So with that, let's get going. First, I'd like to welcome JJ, CEO of Talk Me Up, to the virtual stage.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is JJ. Very happy to kickstart today's pitches. I'm the founder and CEO of Talk Me Up. We are an AI-based software company focused on communication training. If you're running a business, you must have realized how important it is for a team to be able to communicate effectively, both internally and externally. However, if you look at the current communication training market, you can realize how problematic the traditional training methods are. Conducted by human coaches, these training sessions, whether one-on-one or group trainings, they're not only expensive, but also hard to scale, hard to standardize, and hard to measure. At Talk Me Up, we have created a smart coaching system that you can utilize and equip every employee of yours with a smart coach on their mobile devices. They can practice anywhere, anytime by simply speaking to the camera. They will get instant and personalized feedback on their delivery and content. In the meantime, we offer your managers with managerial insights so that they can improve their team's performance in an iterative way. Our training solution has been proven very effective. We have observed skill improvement, both long-term and short-term, among our end users. More importantly, we care about how these improved skills are translated into improved business performance. And that is over 30% per KPI per month among our enterprise customers. On the competition landscape, TalkMeUp is the company who's offering the most effective and customizable training solution at the lowest cost. We target the multi-billion corporate training market with our initial focus on customer success and sales training use cases in the US, specifically focusing on tech, financial service, education, and NGO segments. We project a 3.3 initial addressable market. But if we take a look at this huge and fast growing market, the potential for us to grow in the future is truly endless. We adopt a B2B approach. That means we sell directly to enterprise customers for their sales or customer success training use cases through SaaS offerings, or we sell with our partners. They're typically training or LMS companies through API integrations. As of today, we have over 10 enterprise customers and partners, and we're working to close some very big deals very soon. And this year, we project about 1 million ARR. Since our team company incorporated in 2018, our team has raised a little over 1 million, and we're looking to raise around 3 million seed round around Q4 this year. Looking forward, as a founder, I do envision TalkMeUp to grow in multiple countries to serve multiple enterprises in different industries in a smart and scalable way. We have an awesome team of experts in AI, business, development, and design. We graduated from CMU and Stanford. We have, industry experience before we, co-founded TalkMeUp. Together with us, we also have over 15 interns. They're mostly from CMU and Pitt. They're really awesome. And big thanks to our advisors who have been helping us since day one on all fronts. Our team has a track record of achievements. Our team has won multiple venture competitions. We have a patent granted. Our team also published multiple international papers at top international conferences. And we're Team TalkMeUp. We're offering AI-powered learning for human-powered doing. And I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, JJ. Nehal, could you kick us off with judges' questions?
Sure. Great presentation, JJ. So my first question, I think you mentioned the 3 sectors that are your initial targets. I was curious as to why you picked those. Like, what is the rationale behind targeting those 3 sectors? Why are they your ideal customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Nehal. So in our case, the scalability and the standard, unified voice, that is the benefit we're offering our customers with. I would say before pandemic, we focused on, traditional industries, for instance, retail and hospitality. I think the pandemic definitely changed everybody's mindset. So we had to pivot a little bit to focus more on partnering up with existing training companies. And as a matter of fact, they don't see us as a competitor, but more like a partner who can power up their training solutions. That's one of the reasons. And 2, a lot of tech companies and financial service companies, their acceptance of our solutions is relatively higher than other industries. So that's why we want to focus on these industry we already gained tractions in. Yeah.
Okay, great. And my second question is, can you elaborate on your business model a little bit? I know you mentioned that you're doing a B2B2C kind of model. So can you elaborate a little bit on that model?
Yeah, for sure. So for direct sales, meaning our customers are using TalkMeUp solutions to train their internal teams. So in that case, we typically charge a flat organizational fee. So if you average that out, that'll be around, I would say $200 to $400 per seat per year. So that's one model. Another model, through our API integration with our partners. For that part, if it's like standard package, we typically charge them based on consumption. So around 70 cents per API call. Some of our partners, they have customization needs. So in that case, we charge them somewhere between 50 to 100K per year for the whole year licensing. Yeah.
And your team does the customization, correct? Like, or the integration rather.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
XAPI, RESTful API, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Nehal. Over to you, Juan. You want to jump in?
Sure. Thank you, JJ. Great presentation. I'd love to understand a little bit more about the skills that you're improving with your solution. I guess which specific areas of communication are you hoping to improve, and then also how are you measuring the improvement that you're making for your customers?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Juan. So the training methodology, we didn't create a whole training methodology. That's the same methodology the industry has been using for decades. So the analysis and feedback is given based on the target audience decision-making criteria. So let's say you are pitching to technical audience. In that case, you need to use data to provide the evidence to convince the other party. So on a high level, we analyze their delivery and content. We further break it down. We analyze how persuasive, how engaging, how passionate they are from their audience standard. And then we further break that down to basic competencies, including, how you engage with your audience using eye contact, facial expression, filler words, your logical structure, your storytelling strategies, your choice of words, et cetera. So that's the key competency everybody should have, regardless, what topic you're communicating with. In addition to that, we do provide, custom metrics. So typically our enterprise customers, they will share with us, let's say they want to train their sales team on how to pitch a new product they're going to launch soon. So in that case, they share with us a sample script or a few, best practices. In that case, in addition to the standard set of metrics we analyze on, we also provide feedback on, whether you're on track mentioning certain key information about the product, and or whether you're using a recommended structure to deliver your sales pitch. So that is the metrics we analyze. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Juan. Bobby, we have time for one more question.
Sure, JJ. Congratulations on all the success thus far with the business, and good luck in the future. I'm interested in what you think is the kind of end game with the business. What do you think is a target for potential acquisition, or do you think this is a company that you could potentially IPO at some point? You guys have some great ARR numbers already very early on, so I'm just curious what success looks like to you.
Yeah. I mean, actually earlier this year, there was one investor who reached out to us. He wanted to acquire the company, but then we said, not yet, because at the early stage, you already have customers, in US, in Europe, and in China. So from the company's perspective, I do see the potential for us to grow. Not only, in the corporate training segment, for instance, in Asia, our partners, they're actually serving the K-12 education market. So we're actually reaching out to multiple markets through our partners right now. So there's great potential for us to grow down the road. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, judges, and thank you so much, JJ. Up next, we have Sana, CEO of Rubidetection. Please join me in welcoming Sana to our virtual stage.
Hello, everybody. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you and hear you.
All right, wonderful. So thank you for your time today. I'm Dr. Sana Gaspard, and I'm the CEO of Rubidection and the primary inventor of its technology. As CEO, I oversee our fundraising, technology development, and corporate outreach, as well as clinical engagement. Rubidection is a medtech company that's addressing a global healthcare problem known as bed sores by providing caregivers with a low-cost early detection tool. My vision is to make our solution the global standard tool for skin health assessment to increase patient access, reduce racial inequities, as well as to save the lives of vulnerable patients like Superman. Or in this case, wealthy actor Christopher Reeves. He was paralyzed from his neck down, survived for 9 years thanks to the best healthcare he could afford, until he developed a bed sore, which would lead to his death. Early detection could have saved his life. And he's not alone, because bed sores affect 2.3 million people every year, killing 60,000 of them needlessly. This is because if you can detect a condition early, you can prevent it from developing. But early detection is difficult. The early diagnostic test is manual and unreliable, affected by things like the lighting in the room or the color of the patient's skin, making people of color at a higher risk of developing the most severe cases of the condition, while costing the US healthcare system $11 billion in 1 year alone. A cost that facilities are now responsible for paying if the condition develops within their facility. And this is not cheap. One bed sore can cost on average $43,000, and one patient can have more than one at a time. In addition to the direct treatment costs, facilities are also penalized up to 3% of their annual Medicare revenue, which can lead to millions of lost revenue every year. Even the experts agree an early detection tool is needed. It would be priceless. We're addressing that need with the Rubidetect assessment system. It's a patented handheld device that allows any user to detect the bed sore at its earliest stage. It's used with a digital healthcare app that supports risk analytics, care management, and telehealth, allowing any caregiver to have the data they need to save lives, save time, and save money, allowing healthcare facilities to increase their Medicare revenue by shifting costs away from high-cost treatment to low-cost early detection and driving revenues through detection on admission. To date, we've already completed initial testing that shows we can detect those biomarkers with 96% accuracy. Compared to our competition, we're more reliable, easier to use, diagnostic, and lower in cost. This will allow us to dominate a $4.3 billion US market, which includes sales to hospitals, nursing homes, as well as home health agencies, where we sell our solution using a razor blade business model. In this model, we bundle the hardware and software and make recurring revenue off of the disposable. In this model, here's how we make money. For every device that we sell, we make $22,000 in annual recurring revenue. We anticipate that one hospital system would need about 12 devices, which gives us $264,000 per facility. Within 6 years, we think we can capture 6% of that market, yielding over $100 million in sales. And the ROI for facilities is huge. As a result, healthcare facilities are already contacting us to either purchase the technology or to clinically collaborate with us. To scale to the broader market, we're going to be working with strategic sales and distribution partners, all of whom here have provided letters of interest because they currently don't really have products in the early detection and prevention space. With such a growing market, even large companies not currently in the space like Procter & Gamble recently evaluated us to be their next billion-dollar brand. Rubidetection's team has domain expertise. I'm the founder and CEO. Dr. Hines develops our custom algorithms, and we've surrounded ourselves with experts in the field like Dr. Joyce Black, who's the current vice president of the National Pressure Ulcer Advisory Panel. And for us, bed sores are really just the beginning. With the broader application of our same technology to other healthcare conditions, from diabetic foot ulcers to chronic dermatological conditions, we can increase our market to over $34 billion. So I invite you today to join our revolution to reimagine skincare based on data-driven analytics. Our traction to date includes additional progress in our next generation prototype, engagement with additional hospital facilities, and commercialization partners like Sompo, which is a large insurance payer in Japan and across the world, as well as CTEP, which is a pediatric medical device commercialization group. And we're currently raising a $2 million seed round to support technology development, pilot testing, and expanding our IP and our team. And I hope you can join us in doing well while doing good. You can learn more at rubidection.com.
Thank you so much, Sana. Let's head over to our judges for questions. Juan, let's kick it off with you.
Sure, thanks. Thank you, Sana, and great to see you again.
Yeah.
Good to hear about the continued progress of detection. I guess I'd love to dig into two areas, just if I can. One, the status of the product. I'd love to understand what the timeline looks like for completion of your continued technology development, pilot testing, and then commercialization.
Sure. So this year, we are currently working on our next prototype. We currently already have a functional prototype. You can see that here. We've done some initial clinical pilots with that shows we can detect the early biomarkers. And we actually did that testing in Pittsburgh, and we're now working on our next generation prototype and to do testing going into the summer or the fall so that we can have more data. And this will be our final prototype before we go into basically product development and manufacturing.
And when would you expect it to be available to hospitals?
Probably towards the end of next year, early 2022. So our timeline is this year to work on additional pilot testing and prototype development, next year to go into product development and manufacturing with initial sales to our clinical partners, and then a full market launch in 2023 with strategic sales and distribution partnerships.
Thank you. And just one last quick one. On the competitive market, I guess I'd love to understand for the other companies that do have some sort of device available in the market today, have any of them actually gained any significant traction?
I would say maybe one or two have. It's basically a new product category. So I would say not significant. None of them have significantly gained market traction, maybe except for the SEM scanner, which, let me just bring that up, which uses dielectric impedance. They kind of had a first market advantage and have been leveraging kind of marketing to get their name out. But their system is not very reliable. It's the second one from the bottom. Their system's not very reliable. You have to make 4 or 5 measurements to get a single measurement. And it's also quite expensive, around $5,000. So from my perspective, the reason why most of these solutions haven't gotten significant market traction is because they don't actually meet user requirements, which is something that's low cost, easy to use, and has minimal cleaning requirements. A lot of the solutions are either not diagnostic or they're quite expensive.
Thank you.
Thanks, Juan. Bobby, do you have any questions for Sana?
Sure. Hi, Dr. Gaspard. How are you?
I'm doing good, Bobby. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Sana, I wanted to ask you about you elaborated on the business model itself, and I wanted to ask if you could elaborate a little bit on how you envision an effective kind of sales cycle working. It's obviously working with these systems can be kind of messy, and how do you imagine you will go about that process?
Yeah, so we have a 2-pronged process. We're going to use a hybrid sales approach. We're going to start with our clinical partners where we already have existing relationships, and that will include both nursing homes and hospital systems. Basically, the high-level process when looking at hospital systems, and to a lesser degree, nursing homes, is that we have to find a clinical champion who understands the need. And then through them, we go through the value analysis committee, which is just a standard hospital group that approves sales. And then once we get that approval, usually for a small pilot run where they pay for that, if that comes out successful, they do a larger purchase and we get into their cycle. For nursing homes, since they don't really have a value analysis committee, it's basically connecting with the nursing director and the facility administrator, getting them on board, basically showing them the potential impact of the solution and making that purchase.
That's great. Thank you. One other question. Assuming the time frame you elaborated for Juan about commercialization and deployment kind of end of next year, how soon thereafter you think you might be able to take the same model and apply to those different kind of types of injuries that you discussed in the presentation?
That's a great question. I'm thinking ideally what we would like to do, because we've had some corporations actually contact us this year about the other applications in dermatology. And yeah, some of the other applications. We're looking now to do a partnership with one of those companies and just maybe do a co-development or potentially license it out. So it could happen consecutively or possibly 2 or 3 years after, but corporations have already started contacting us now, and hospital groups specifically now have started contacting us either about the wound care application or the dermatology application. And given that our solution doesn't change significantly for the application, the sensors are the same, it's just a software output change. It's not a significant jump to the other markets. It's the same potential user form in terms of the hardware, same sensors, and just updating the software. So we're actually exploring both simultaneously, because you can imagine hospitals also have a wound care and a dermatology department. For example,
Sure.
it gives us an added value proposition when selling it to our customers.
That's great. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Nehal, would you like to close us out?
Sure. So Sana, you mentioned value analysis committee. So I'm going to put on my UPMC hat and ask you, how do you plan on convincing the value analysis committee? Because you mentioned earlier also that you're a new product category, and those are words that make a value analysis committee very nervous. So how do you plan on convincing the value analysis committee that the new product category has a reimbursement pathway that you're going to be able to?
So in terms of, I think that's a two-pronged question: is how do we get the value analysis committee to say yes, and then how do we address it with reimbursement?
Yep.
So in terms of reimbursement, there is no reimbursement for bedsore diagnostic tools. As a new product category, there just hasn't been a lot of technology in the space until recently, and so there is no reimbursement. Also, it's just considered part of nursing care. So it's like going to your hairdresser and having her ask insurance to pay for the comb. It's just part of the service of going to a hospital that they evaluate your skin. So there's just no reimbursement. So the value proposition we would make to the value analysis committee would be on cost savings. So they are currently spending money on the treatment of these conditions, as well as getting penalized for it potentially, and paying the direct treatment costs. So we would show this would be a cost shift away from expensive treatment to low cost early detection, where they get to actually save money. So that's one way. Then we would also show basically show the impact of the technology in terms of the use case, in terms of looking at patients on admissions, as well as following patients within the facility. Being able to show that we can increase the detection and admission would actually help the facility increase its revenue. So we have a revenue, cost savings and revenue generation aspect, as well as improving their risk and quality measures and risk around that condition, which can reduce their quality ranking. So we would position it from those three ways, backed up with clinical data, essentially.
Okay. And what specific biomarkers, I know you mentioned that you're measuring some biomarkers, with this. So what specific biomarkers are you measuring? And second, I guess related to that is there any kind of risk stratification data that is collected by your device that shows some kind of triage or, progression of the ulcer or the wound that you're identifying as requiring early intervention or too progressive in its stage?
Yeah, so that's a great question, both great questions. So in terms of risk stratification, yes, we can. So right now, the current manual test either says yes or no. With the use of our solution, we can now say yes or no, as well as low, medium, or high risk, and then provide care customization based on that risk level. In terms of, I think the one question was risk. What was the second question about specifically?
The second question was just stratification, that's going to provide, or specific biomarkers, I guess, that you're pulling in from that leads to the risk stratification.
Yeah, so the biomarker that we are monitoring is actually early signs of inflammation, which have to do with perfusion changes in the skin. You can imagine like the first sign of injury when you look at your skin is skin redness. And that's caused by a bunch of biochemical changes, but that it results in changes in your vascular system where you either have increased blood flow or less blood flow or pooling of blood if you have a bruise. And so we monitor that change, and we can monitor that over time as inflammation progresses or heals, so that we can do early diagnosis or risk prediction.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nehal.
Thank you, Nehal. And thank you so much, Sana. And congrats on the progress so far. Moving on, actually, before we move on to our next presentation, I want to give the audience a quick reminder to rate each company at the bottom of your screen for your chance to win a free Passport membership, and to help us decide who our Audience Choice Award will be, that will be continuing on to the finals. So go ahead to the bottom of the page, click on each company's name. You can rate all companies presenting, and the scores will be tallied at the conclusion of the event to select a winner. And you'll be entered in a raffle to win your own Passport membership. So without further ado, up next we have Paris, CEO of Perry. Welcome to the stage, Paris.
Hi, my name is Paris and I'm a co-founder at Perry, and we've built Shopify for Services, a simple no-code toolkit for selling services online. Now I'm going to show it to you and explain why people need this. Meet Next Step. Next Step is a marketplace for career coaching services that subscribe to Perry because they were struggling to launch their booking app. Next Step tried to build the app themselves by daisy chaining together a bunch of SaaS tools, but finding the perfect combination of tools was nearly impossible. And figuring out how to seamlessly integrate them made things even more difficult. The only alternative to building the product themselves as non-technical business owners was to hire a custom developer, but this was way too expensive for an early stage business like Next Step. We believe that buying and selling online should be just as simple for services as it is for products. This isn't the case for many. In fact, just 7% of services are currently transacted online, despite making up over 2/3 of consumer spending in the United States. Our vision is to eliminate the financial and technical barriers to selling services online, similarly to what Shopify has done for businesses that sell products. The problem is that it's currently too hard and too complex for non-technical businesses to sell services online. The first reason for this is that the majority of service-based businesses are small to medium-sized ones, and they have limited time and resources that they can dedicate to setting up an online presence. And the second reason is that services are just not as easily standardized as products. Every service industry and individual service provider has a unique booking process, making it difficult for businesses to find a software solution that gives them full control over how their bookings are both managed and monetized. And despite every service business having this unique booking process, they all want control over how they monetize, communicate with their customers, collect data, manage scheduling and availability, and define how different types of users can interact with their business online. We've built these shared needs into modular building blocks within our technology, enabling service-based businesses like Next Step to affordably launch custom booking apps within minutes rather than months without any tech support. Our customers primarily care about two things. The first is the booking management software flexible enough to accommodate their unique booking process? And two, how quickly can they have their booking process be brought online? Competitors in the top left quadrant may take days to set up, but they're templated solutions with very limited flexibility when it comes to digitizing custom booking processes. On the other hand, products in the bottom right are much more flexible, but they take months and many more dollars to set up because it's basically like having to hire a custom developer. And despite the existence of industry-specific booking tools like Mindbody and Service Titan, we aren't worried about competing with them because we have to remember that only 7% of services are currently transacted online. We are focused on the remaining 93% by enabling more booking apps to come to market faster than traditional means. And while the overall US economy's service sector has increased dramatically over the past decade, the same hasn't happened online due to the variety of service businesses. We plan to bring this growing $9.7 trillion sector online by first targeting our beachhead market of no-code marketplaces. Then once capturing this market, we plan to move downstream and open up our technology to the everyday SMB and any service industry. As we've been focused primarily on product development, we haven't really done significant advertising or marketing to date, but despite this, since our SaaS product launch in September of 2020, in just 9 months, we've grown to 6.1K in monthly recurring revenue, become profitable, and retained over 90% of all of our customers. As for our business model, currently we make money by charging monthly subscriptions of $399 for up to 100,000 users. And then past that user threshold, it's about $2,000 per month. And in the future, we also plan to take a usage-based percentage of sales. And just to give you a little bit of background on the team, we're currently 2 technical co-founders and Techstars alums who stopped out of Carnegie Mellon University because of our shared passion to help minimize barriers to entrepreneurship and conviction behind this company. Thanks for listening. And if there's any investors in the audience, we're currently in the middle of raising our pre-seed of $1 million and to talk to you. You can reach us both at founders@perry.app. Thanks.
Thank you, Paris. Let's head over to our judges. Bobby, could you kick us off, please?
Sure. Thanks, Paris. That was a great pitch, and it's a very interesting product, and appreciate the ways that you described some of the challenges of addressing it, which are definitely present. And I'm along those lines. I'm curious how much research you've done in terms of customer discovery, and I understand you're looking into the no-code marketplace, but what are the fastest pathways to growth for you with this product, given like how diverse the market really is?
Yeah, so 2 questions I'm drawing from that. The first is, what customer discovery have we done? And then the second, like, what has been our go-to-market strategy thus far, and what does it look like in the future? As for the first part, we actually pivoted during the Techstars program into what we're doing now, which is targeting these code marketplaces. Like, you can think like a marketplace for dog walkers or marketplace for personal chefs. And we were part of this incubation space called 1801 in Chicago. So we sent surveys and we sat down and talked with a bunch of marketplace founders there. I believe it was at least over 30 marketplaces. And from that data, we found that on average, these companies were spending $24,000 and taking 6 months just to get an MVP or prototype into the market of their service marketplace. And many of them were kind of eyeballing our tech at the time because we were a marketplace ourselves before we pivoted. And they wanted to purchase it from us. So we made that transition to opening up our technology to serve other industries, as that's always been our goal. As to how we're acquiring these users up until today, 60% of our customers have come through direct outreach up until this point in no-code online communities like Slack channels, Reddit, and other like marketplace communities like On Deck no-code community, for example. And then the remaining 40% have come from organic referrals. So for every one of our current customers, they refer another 1.5.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Nehal, would you like to jump in?
Sure. So I'll just piggyback off of what Bobby asked earlier. I think both of you alluded to the fact that you're entering the fragmented market, right? What are your plans to stay competitive? What's your secret sauce that's going to let you stay competitive as you scale the business?
Yeah, and it seems like a very noisy space, like bookings in general. And that's exactly why we've targeted this initial beachhead of marketplaces to defragment the traditionally fragmented SMB services marketplace or market space. And so by being this invisible infrastructure for these service marketplaces to utilize, they're the ones with the industry knowledge and expertise that are identifying these unaddressed needs in the market and bringing more service providers under the Perry ecosystem. So because they're marketplaces themselves, they scale much, they're incentivized to bring as many service providers under their roof as much as possible. And we have a very strong value proposition for this customer segment. So our marketing stands out because we're so much more flexible, so much quicker and more affordable to get to market than existing like no-code marketplace building solutions. So we're going to utilize sort of like a Trojan horse strategy of first satiating that initial market and then utilizing that network to move downstream.
Okay. And what about barriers to entry? Is there anything that is, your secret sauce that's going to, prevent imitators from getting into the market? Because what you mentioned, which is admirable, is a fairly sophisticated execution strategy, right? But how are you going to prevent imitators from entering the market?
Yeah, I think one of the key insights really is that unique insight of targeting communities first. I don't see anyone else taking that perspective, and also targeting non-technical businesses. You have to enable the everyday person to be able to bring their ideas to life and bring them to market in order to bring that 93% of the economy online. So it's putting those two unique insights together that's extremely important, plus delivery and plus the ability to just hustle and work your way up and down the market. That brings everything together.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nehal. Juan, would you like to close us out with questions?
Sure, just a quick question. And thank you so much for the pitch, Paris. That's a very interesting solution and certainly a very interesting space as well. I mean, I think Bobby already asked the question that I had as well about the market and the competitive environment. But I am curious to know just about the solution itself, understanding that it's your traditional no-code tool. But I guess I'd love to understand that, for most customers, as you start to scale this type of solution for most customers, how much, if any, support do you expect to provide to customers as they are actually using your tool to build out their own capabilities on their sites?
Yeah, so one of the main value propositions for kind of like development-based companies, or like any kind of like a company that's providing soft tools to non-technical people, is the ability to like do it on their behalf, or like for them to do as little work as possible. And so one way that we have been scaling that is by enabling non-technical people to submit solutions to commonly used problems as well. And so an example of this in Shopify's example is they have like the app store where developers can contribute like extra plugins and apps. Now imagine if you can enable the everyday person to submit plugins and apps. And so we have this app store where commonly used solutions and plugins can not only be developed by developers, but on existing no-code tools like Notion or Software.io or Webflow, and then integrated seamlessly within the Perry app. So it allows for even larger like network effects and growth from a solution and technical support aspect.
That's a great idea that you're already using that so soon, actually, in your own maturation. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you, Juan, and thank you to all of our judges, and thank you, of course, to Paris. Up next, we have Michael, CEO of Lean FM. Please join me in welcoming Michael to our virtual stage.
Good afternoon, judges and public. I'm Mike Giorgione. As a Pittsburgh native, it's a great privilege to be part of the Pittsburgh Startup Challenge. I'm the CEO of Lean FM Technologies. We are a property technology company, and it's using a SaaS business model in the HVAC space. Lean for lean manufacturing, FM for facilities management, and the mark in our icon and our logo represents the digital twin we create through our machine learning platform. This is not how you manage HVAC systems. This is not how you want your employees working in ultra cold or hot spaces. We are working with clients with large, centrally managed plants. We are attacking the problem of energy waste in the built environment around the world. Just in US office space, 50 billion per year in energy waste. And typically in most structures, HVAC is the #1 energy consumer. We are not there to replace the maintenance staff. We are to augment them with data-driven analysis through the unique platform. We are currently supporting facility managers globally and in the United States focused in healthcare and university higher education. We are leading the evolution of AI, we believe, because we are on the wave of machine learning platforms and what's called the third wave and advancing it to our clients' benefit. This is how it works. We work with the building automation system, which is the brain, the control logic of the building automation system in the structure. We take the mechanical drawings, if there's a three-dimensional, and merge that together. We create a digital twin. That's part of the patented process in the AI-assisted point matching. Time series database, run it through the algorithms and the user interface, which can be read on any web-based device, except for your great aunt's rotary telephone, reveals both a 3D picture or this tabular structure of the root cause in the energy waste per day based on the laws of thermodynamics. Again, we are augmenting the energy staff at just 1 cent per square foot per month with data-driven results of what's going on with fault detection in their software and their hardware. Behind the scenes, yes, we can look at the graphics of the HVAC system and all the control points. We can show and teach them about the why We have simultaneous heating and cooling in our air handling units. Why we have control valves that are operating erratically in this one structure that has 14 air handling units. That's all the deep dive that the machine learning platform gives you. Why is this better? Why are we up to a competition from our competitors of around 30 years? They are all using rule-based systems, if-then coded human instructed programs. We are on the probability side of dynamic systems using advanced neural networks, which are easily scalable, and we believe go a deeper dive to the root cause of what the problem is. Intelligent, insightful, precise, these are some of the areas we excel in with providing this more reliable feedback and data-driven results. This is who we help. Again, anyone who operates, maintains a structure around the world. Let's look at what some of our clients have said. Cleveland Clinic, the Avon Hospital, 31% savings in just a few months, diagnosing all these typically found software and hardware faults. This is their representation of a 31% decrease in energy costs in just this one structure. Mayo Clinic, our largest consumer currently of 4 buildings in a $1.4 million campus in Rochester, Minnesota, 14% energy waste. The Overseas Resort in Turkey, the high-rise newly built office building in China. This is our incredible team. Dr. Pine Liu, Dr. Burju Kinja of Carnegie Mellon University put us together. I'm their new partner. Nanette's our head of business development. Again, this is not where we want to be. We want to support and avoid these situations. We support the hotels and resorts, the vertical farms, indoor gymnasiums, the data centers, airports, museums, art galleries, anyone that operates critical facilities, our own convention center in Pittsburgh, and most importantly, our children, mothers, and patients in hospitals, and our students who are finally going back to school. Thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate your focus.
Thanks so much, Michael. We're going to head over to our judges for questions, and we're going to kick it off with Nehal.
All right. Thank you, Michael. It was a great presentation. So I have one question coming again from my current role, which is with the health system. It's a 40-hospital health system. So what's your typical sales cycle look like from start to finish? Like, who's your first call when you try to get into the facilities?
Based on contacts, we're going to get to that VP of facilities management. So at UPMC, we know those individuals want to get in there and start the discussion with them and their staff that does the maintenance of the HVAC systems. We have to sell it to the mechanics and get them on board early. Then we talk to the CFO and the IT staff and figure out how to onboard the software. We install no hardware, it's all software.
Okay, and how long does that typical sort of sales cycle from start to finish take?
It's relationships. It could be 2 months, it could be a year. And I've learned a lot in just the year I've been aboard with some. Our quickest onboard was Mayo Clinic in 2 months. I found that was aided by a very sophisticated forward-looking staff that wanted to get in building analytics and was well aware of the aging workforce and HVAC technicians and wanted to set the standard on how to take better care of the facilities. Plus, they had looked at a number of our competitors and had a good basis of knowledge.
So who are your closest competitors?
They are companies that have been around for over 30 years, Clockworks, Copper Tree, and SkySpark.
Okay, and your differentiation is I think you mentioned in your presentation, the AI-based data center.
It is, because it's a learning platform that's probabilistic and not rule-based. Much harder to scale a rule-based platform, much easier and quicker to bring on machine learning. And you're always learning, of course, about the structure and all the input variables.
So before you, I'm sorry, I don't mean to dominate just one last question. So before you kind of, have the results that I'm guessing with anything that's machine learning based, there's a critical mass of data that you need to collect, right? So what is your implementation time frame when you start collecting this data from a single customer, and then I guess the learning or the system learns and kind of provides some predictive analytics, right?
We want at least 1 week of data. We're going to learn a lot about just in 1 week, which is quicker than anyone else. But of course, you're always learning and storing. So as you go through a heating and cooling season and different occupancy loading, you're always informing the system and getting smarter and smarter about how to predict the software and hardware fault needs.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, Nehal. Juan, could you jump in as well?
Sure. Thanks for the pitch, Michael. Very interesting. I guess I'm curious about a couple of things. One, I'd love to better understand the business model. I think you may have mentioned some pricing stats in there during the presentation, but I'm not sure I got the full format. But what is the structure of your typical customer contract, and how do you price the solution?
Okay, it's a software as a service business model. Most clients want to do a 2-month pilot. There's an upfront engineering cost of several thousand, 1 cent per square foot. That's what you remember, 1 cent per square foot per month. Then it converts to contract, which is an annual contract, 12 months at a time, bringing in monthly recurring revenue. And they've all converted to date. All those clients I showed you are on a current annual contract.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then on the product itself, very interesting that you're using machine learning to identify these insights today from across the building. Are you also recommending actions that need to be taken as well to improve those issues?
Here's what happens, Juan. We show the data, and as we're onboarding a client, we do a deep dive with what we're finding. There are reasons why there are faults. Sometimes they don't know what's going on. It truly is a fault. Sometimes they've done something that they inform us, oh, we opened the door, we shut the system down, it's intentionally hot because of this. That informs it, we adjust the models. From those discussions is where the client becomes informed of what they really need to fix. It's important on customer service to get in tight with the IT and HVAC staff early so they understand and use the tool rather than work around it. We're not an alarm feature like most of the building automation system vendors are. We are truly deep-rooted cause of what's going on. We take that snapshot real time, and then we share it with them. Now, they can eventually, once they learn it, they go in through the user interface and do their own diagnosis and own troubleshooting. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Bobby, do you have any questions for Michael?
I do, sure. Thanks for the presentation, Michael. My questions are kind of around scalability. It seems that it's a relatively high touch business. Fantastic examples of great customers across the globe in a variety of different types of facilities. Given that, how do you envision kind of scaling this? It is a software as a service model, but still, you're very hands-on with your customers, it seems. And so, how do you kind of reconcile that?
And that's a lot of the learning we're doing as well, Bobby. And so we need more smart people to join us. That's where the investment comes from, to get more. We need to be more configurable, not customizable. And we know that's the challenge, and we know we need to go there. We have learned a lot from our handful of clients in just 1 year of pulling in revenue, and we need to use that knowledge to figure out how to scale it. Because you're right, it would not be manageable in a comfortable, quality way if we had to treat everyone with 1 or 2 technicians.
Gotcha.
So I need more people, need more investment, need more developers who have been there and know how to scale it.
That makes sense. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thanks, Bobby, and thanks, judges, and of course, thank you, Michael. With that, we have wrapped up the first half of our presenting companies. We've got a great second half for you all. Before we dive into those pitches, I want to give a quick reminder to our audience. Please make sure that you are rating each company. Again, your votes contribute to our Audience Choice Award. As well, a quick reminder to our 3 judges, please make sure you're inputting your scores so we can get those tallied quickly for the audience at the end of our pitch event. And with that, let's get into the next round of pitches. Let's welcome Jesse, CEO of Gridfruit, to the virtual stage.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for making time today. Are you able to see my face? I'm Jesse Thornburg with Gridfruit. We put unused data to work to reduce energy and emissions in commercial refrigeration to benefit food stores and power grids. So think with me about the last time you walked through a supermarket and opened up one of those big freezer doors, watched the cold white air pour out on you. This represents a loss in thermal energy to the store, and their system responds by turning on and off compressors throughout the day, as shown by this blue curve showing the power in a walk-in refrigerator. And 2 to 6 times a day, each system also defrosts, creating a large spike demand that unfortunately by factory default settings often occurs in the evening, just as other loads on the grid, especially residential homes, are also peaking. So here's an example from California where we recently did our first paid pilot with utility Southern California Edison. Just as the sun's going down and solar generation is declining, they have a big residential and commercial peak and have to respond by turning on their most expensive and highest polluting generation assets. Now, we started, my co-founder and I, doing our PhDs at Carnegie Mellon. We started looking at residential applications to solve this, but we found there was a big need in food retail, specifically with commercial refrigeration, because in those types of stores, refrigeration dominates over HVAC and all other loads. It's the second overall cost after labor. And these refrigeration systems are already collecting data across many vectors, but it's unused except in the case of big breakdowns when there's emergency maintenance repair needed. We take that data and with machine learning, we process it with weather data and inputs from the grid using digital twins, similar to what Mike described, to optimize how the stores run their refrigeration and freezer systems. And this is not just a solution for cooling, it's the start of a platform to provide insights and automated control to coordinate with other loads as well as rooftop solar and electric vehicle charging. We have recently completed a convenience store pilot in Pittsburgh and also a paid pilot with utility Southern California Edison, where as you can see here, we demonstrated peak reduction benefits across every month of the year. We're also in the middle of a phase 1 SBIR project as we expand to larger stores. And I won't go too deep into this because Mike gave a great overview, but basically with the specs of the store and their refrigeration systems, as well as a tiny bit of data, we develop a digital twin and provide them a customizable online console that allows them to view their data in real time and also sends them automated alerts to benefit their maintenance and facility staff if anything goes amiss. We've shown in our first pilot, we can save each food store up to $36,000 per year, as well as one-time rebates of up to $10K, and save the grid up to 15% in reduced peak demand and emissions from these refrigeration systems. We've decided to price that based on competitor pricing models as a percentage of savings. So for the first 4 to 6 weeks, we basically demonstrate the savings, and the contract states that the stores then pay us around 30%. So for an average supermarket, around $11K per store per year in income. They get the benefit that with machine learning, the value to them and the savings just keep on increasing the more data we have and the longer we train the algorithms. We also have the benefit that we don't need to redo these digital twins for each store. Once we've done it for one chain, one store type, we can scale at negligible per store cost across 500, 1,000, 2,000 stores. We have a number of competitors, but they basically have focused on large thermal hardware, or they're limiting their control interventions to freezers, whereas we also do refrigeration and small store standalone units. Have a great team partnered with me. My own background is engineering and computer science at MIT and Stanford. I brought on research faculty member Javad Mohammadi from Carnegie Mellon, where we also brought on our first full-time hire, Carolyn, who leads software and controls, and immense advisory board across the legal, business, and technical fields from Carnegie Mellon, Innovation Works, and elsewhere. Thank you so much for your time, and I welcome your questions.
Thanks, Jesse. Let's get into those questions. Juan, would you care to go first?
Sure. Thanks, Jesse, and great to see your pitch again. I guess I'd love to understand two things. One, the go-to-market strategy. It sounds like your first pilot was with Southern California Edison, energy provider and producer. Is that going to be one of the key channels for your customer acquisition, and/or do you expect to go to market directly to retail market chains?
Yeah, great question. We definitely plan to do both, and we're in conversations with both sides. We have found, especially in the last year, the utilities are more open to being a first adopter and a first buyer than stores who have been recently pretty averse to in-store demonstrations if they have to pay for them. So we do provide more value to the store. I mentioned that $36K in savings to the store, whereas for the grid, it's typically up to $15K per store since they're not getting the maintenance and alert benefits that the store sees. But we do see the utilities as important strategic partners to incentivize this. And in the long run, when we're at scale, we can basically bring the whole group of stores in a service territory and lobby the grid to provide demand response incentives. So a new revenue stream for the stores of which we get a percentage. So that's sort of a second revenue model that we plan to implement at scale where we can get value from both sides of that chain. But great question.
Thank you. That's a great answer as well. And just out of curiosity, the pilot with SoCal Edison, how long is that pilot? Are you finished with it at this point? And are you expecting that to convert into full customer engagement for you?
Yes. Yeah. We finished it late 2020, and we've been in negotiations. They're pretty slow. And at that, right as it was scheduled to end, they were very focused on the wildfires and other things. But yeah, they've provided signed letters and intent in writing to continue that. And they've introduced us to 7-Eleven and some other stores in the region. So yeah, that's in process of extending to a larger pilot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
Thanks, Juan. Bobby, do you have any questions for Jesse?
Sure. Hey, Jesse, it's good to see you. Been a while. Glad you still have hair. Good for you. I was interested, Jesse, if you could go into a little bit more detail on kind of the onboarding process. So just so I'm clear on this is a software interface. You're talking about there's untapped data there that you're prepared to kind of analyze to the advantage of the grid and into that business. So talk a little bit more. Is there variance in the actual refrigeration systems that makes it challenging from one place to the next, or the software that they're using and your ability to extract and manipulate that data? Just talk to me a little bit more about that side of the process.
Yeah, great question. So a lot of it depends on the age of the machinery and how instrumented they already are with digital data collection. So if they're from the past 10 to 15 years, typically they have a control system from Emerson, Danfoss, Honeywell, and they're already collecting data and storing it to the cloud. For older systems and smaller stores, they may not be collecting data. And in those cases, like for convenience store pilot, we install small off-the-shelf sensors and microcontrollers that send data to the cloud, which has been helpful at pilot scale because then we own the data. Whereas when the stores share the data, it's not necessarily at a time granularity that we like. Sometimes it's 15 minutes where we'd like to have 5 minutes or less, but we can work with that. And really to get started, we can develop an initial rough digital twin without data, just with the nameplates of each of their machines and with the footprint of the store. So that's how we get started if they don't have the data set readily available.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. Nehal, do you have any questions for Jesse?
Sure. What do you anticipate as an ideal, or do you have, I guess, a vision for your exit strategy, given that you're going into a market that has a little bit of a network effect, both on the supermarket chain side as well as the utilities companies?
Absolutely. Yeah, great question. We definitely don't want to reinvent the wheel, and we don't want to become a controller hardware company competing with the groups I mentioned to Bobby, Emerson or Danfoss or Johnson Controls or Honeywell. We want to be the software layer for these companies that have basically been traditionally hardware companies and just in the past few years are waking up to the new possibilities of software and data. So we'd love to get acquired by one of those controls companies, Emerson, Danfoss, Johnson Controls. We are also talking to the big chains, Walmart and Target, and they want this stuff at some level. They want this internal as well. So we'd be happy to get acquired by one of those firms as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nehal, and thank you to all of our judges, and thank you, Jesse, for your presentation. Moving on, we have Stuart, CEO of eStat Actuation. Please join me in welcoming Stuart to our virtual stage.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stuart Diller, CEO of eStat Actuation, and we're making robots safer and less expensive. Mobile robots is an $18 billion market, but it could be 10 times bigger if it weren't for two fundamental problems: big hardware costs and safety concerns due to high weight and low responsiveness. These problems come down to the actuators, or the components responsible for movement. Right now, they're just too heavy, slow, and expensive. To illustrate this, let's imagine we're a team of robotics engineers designing a robot to get deliveries from an autonomous driving truck to the customer's doorstep. It should be light enough that it won't hurt grandma if it runs into her on the sidewalk, and be pretty affordable in order to achieve a fast ROI. But we start designing and quickly realize that even just to walk around or pick up a bag, you need surprisingly powerful motors and gearboxes, and you need lots of them. But even when you get the really high-end ones, they're so big that now you need a heavy-duty structure to support the added weight. And so before you know it, the price is completely impractical, and you have a robot that weighs as much as a football player. At eStat, we've created a game-changing new component called an electroadhesive clutch. It works by using static electricity between thin composite films that live inside the housing shown in the video. That means our clutch is 3 times lighter and uses 600 times less power than the conventional hardware, and at a competitive cost. It's also much quieter and more responsive and doesn't heat up during operation. We use this clutch alongside light, inexpensive motors and springs to dramatically improve overall robot performance. The $50 billion actuator market is dominated by industries like transportation and manufacturing, which we plan to enter in the 5 to 10 year range. Initially, we're targeting the rapidly growing emerging robotics verticals, including medical robotics and automated warehousing, because these customers have the biggest pants on fire problem and are most open to quickly adopting new kinds of hardware technology. We're selling hardware and creating designs for companies like these, looking for game-changing solutions for their next generation of high-performance robots. We've made sales to 7 customers, and we're on track to achieve $200,000 in revenue this year, which is actually up a lot since our last One Valley pitch. And our goal is to sell hardware to 10 more companies and then scale up with 3 of those customers to secure $1.5 million in orders by the end of 2022. Our competition that's most established is the conventional actuator companies. But there are other companies developing substantially new solutions for these kinds of emerging verticals. But our technology substantially outperforms theirs, and we have 4 granted patents along with multiple provisionals, so more patents on the way. That will help us maintain our advantage. Our team is very well suited for this problem. We spun out of Carnegie Mellon, and we have more than 25 years combined PhD level robotics hardware experience, as well as experience leading 6 previous startups. I spent 5 years developing the technology in Dr. Kamel Majidi's Soft Machines lab before co-founding the company with him and Randy, and then hiring fellow CMU PhD Kirby Whitty. We're closely tied into the CMU entrepreneurship community as well. We're members of ARM and the Pittsburgh Robotics Network. We developed our technology using over $500K in research funding at CMU, and then receiving $350K to our company in non-dilutive funding from the NSF and Air Force. We have investments from the Swartz Center, Innovation Works, and Alpha Lab Gear, and we're starting a pre-seed round of funding. So how can you in the audience get involved with us? We are hiring. We're looking for technical and business positions, and we'd love any sort of connections you have to great potential employees who are passionate about robotics. We're eStat Actuation. We're making robots safer and less expensive. Thank you for your attention. Looking forward to the questions.
Thanks so much, Stuart. How about we kick it off with Bobby?
Sure. Thanks, Stuart. First of all, congratulations on a pitch that explained this in such a way that I could actually understand it. I had to admit I was a little stressed out going into this one, but it's a very interesting solution. Stuart, could you talk to me a little bit more about currently kind of the production process for your actuators, what the cost looks like, and maybe even more important, how you see potential reduction in cost in the future and how that can pass on to greater revenue down the road?
Yeah, good question. So compared to the conventional version of the component, we have pretty similar parts, except the key aspect of our design, which is the actual composite films. We've been recently finding some really good performance from basically dirt cheap commercially available sources. So at this point with our design, there's nothing in it that has any particularly high costs compared to the conventional design. And in terms of fabrication, we were working on some really great scalable methods that are going to help us achieve very low costs in the future.
That's great. Thank you.
Bobby, Nehal, would you like to jump in?
Sure. So I kind of had a couple of questions on the surgical robotics side of things, because I noticed on your pitch deck that you had Intuitive and Smith & Nephew and RE2 Robotics. So what, with surgical robotics, obviously safety is a huge concern, right? I mean, it's a big factor in purchasing, using, and so on. So, walk me through what you would sell to or pitch to an Intuitive as you make your pitch, and why would they want to? So weight and so on are not issues for Intuitive, right? So why would they want to purchase this? Like, what would you sell to them, and why would they want to purchase this specific to surgical robotics?
Yeah, I'm excited to answer this question, and too bad Kirby isn't in the room, because Kirby actually worked for Intuitive for a couple of years before we convinced her to come and join us. So we're really familiar with this space. One challenge that they encounter is that surgical robotics need to be stable enough that they can execute tasks during surgery, but then either have intrinsic features or activatable features that allow for a small nurse to be able to push the entire machine out of the way if you need to be able to do defibrillation or some task like that. So that actually is a really challenging design problem for conventional clutches, and they end up with solutions that don't last very long and that are very expensive. And so ours is very unique in the sense that we're going to be able to reduce the overall weight of the device and improve the overall controllability, which would also lead to safety improvements as well.
Okay. Now, do you, when you work with them, because this is obviously an integration sort of design process, right, with both the military and all of the robotics. So with surgical robotics in particular, do you get involved, or would you envision getting involved in some of those FDA type of approvals, or is it, you're just selling a component to an Intuitive and then proving the safety and efficacy and some of those issues that they often run into, which are kind of the long commercialization cycle for them, are a big factor. So, is that a role that you have to play as well? Does that impact your sales cycle?
So far with our medical robotics customer, it's been a pretty collaborative process. Yeah, so we expect to have some of those responsibilities, but to work with them because they're really the experts, having already put these kinds of devices through FDA approval before. You're right, it is a pretty long sales cycle. It's the longest of our target markets, and our other one can be much faster, and they have much faster design cycles.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nehal. Juan, would you like to jump in with a question or two?
Sure. Thanks to a great pitch, and great to see you again. Just piggybacking a little bit off of Nehal's questions. I guess I'm curious, your engagements with your customers currently. You mentioned that you have 7 that you're currently engaged with, and you expect to or hope to get 3 to scaled customer engagements by next year. I guess what are you currently? How are you currently engaging with the customers, and how do you transition them to sort of a scaled opportunity for ESTAT?
Yeah, so our customer, good question. Our customers that are most involved right now or most excited about is sort of split in two categories. First category is the customer that sees the potential, has their particular scalable market application, and wants to see us create a solution that is just plug and play for them. So with those customers, we've received some pretty substantial contracts where we're able to get that funding up front so that we can design something for them and then either transition to licensing or scale it up sales. Our other customers are ones where they want basically our expertise. They want to be involved in designing the solution themselves off of our base technology. So with those customers, we've been pretty involved with helping them develop with our technology, and that's very directly headed toward a licensing scenario.
Okay, thank you. And I guess of those two types of customers, which do you expect to see make the most progress, or which are you seeing make the most progress currently in your engagement?
Yeah, so I think it's really promising when they're willing to put a lot of money up front, that they see the potential and they really have an actual scalable end use application that they are planning for. And those are generally the larger companies. The smaller companies are the ones that want to develop with us, but they've been really optimistic and really fast moving as well. So when we create a solution for them, they're like, great, we're getting this into our design next month, and we're going to start producing 4 months down the line. So if I had to select, I love the money up front, but I'm still really excited about our fast moving smaller customers.
And I assume the expectation would be that as you continue your engagements with these two types of customers, that you would start to scale revenues based on those customers actually continue to develop and getting a product to market using your technology.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. So in all the cases with our customers, and the reason that we're trying to narrow it down to 3 or 4 really is because that involves a lot of effort on our end. We want to make sure we're focused on the ones that are really going to scale up initially, and then be able to use our technology as a platform technology and spread out across the market. So, but yeah, that's something we're very conscious of and trying to be strategic toward.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you so much, Stuart. And thank you, of course, to all of the judges for your wonderful questions. Moving on, next up, please join me in welcoming Gung, CEO of Civic Champs, to our virtual stage.
Americans donate $426 billion and volunteer almost 7 billion hours every single year. Yet the tools and technology that we use to manage all this giving are the same ones that we've used since the 1950s. 90% of the 400,000 volunteer coordinators still rely on binders and clipboards to track and manage their volunteers, leading to long hours of manual data entry work. And these time-consuming inefficiencies matter, as they reduce the capacity of nonprofits to provide services to those in need. Fewer meals for the hungry, fewer homes for the homeless. Civic Champs solves all of this with our platform, where we leverage technology like geofencing to automate volunteer management, decreasing manual data entry work by 85%. With Civic Champs, volunteers can easily sign up for events, complete waivers, and receive automated reminders. When volunteers show up on site, we automatically prompt them to check in through the Civic Champs app. Volunteers can also use our self-service kiosk, or a staff member can use the Civic Champs app to check in volunteers from any location. And of course, we deliver this information to nonprofits on simple, actionable dashboards. We've also solved one of the biggest missed opportunities nonprofits have, converting volunteers to donors. Despite the fact that volunteers are twice as likely to donate and donate 10 times more than non-volunteers, the number one reason that they don't is because they're never asked. Civic Champs makes us ask at the right time with the right message. Our award-winning micro-donations platform knows through volunteer feedback and behavior when a volunteer is most inspired. In this example, a volunteer is asked if she would like to match $1 for each hour that she just volunteered. In Pittsburgh, volunteers contribute 73.4 million hours of service every year. If every volunteer was incentivized to match $1 for each hour, it would generate $23,000 for each of the 3,000 nonprofits in our region. To date, Civic Chance works with over 65 nonprofit organizations, including large ones like United Way, Habitat for Humanity, Boys and Girls Club, and Mentor, along with dozens of smaller local nonprofits. Financially, since launching in May 2019, we've grown revenues from $9,000 to over $200,000 in 2020 and have doubled our revenues since the start of COVID-19. Looking forward, we'll grow to $1 million in run rate ARR by the end of 2022. Perhaps even more exciting is the fact that 94% of our customers pay us upfront in full for the entire year, giving us a 1-month payback period. Of the 1.6 million nonprofits in the US, 436,000 rely on volunteers. Based on the average price our customers pay us of $228 per month, this gets us a $1.2 billion addressable market. On the flip side, with 62.8 million volunteers, if we charge the industry average processing fee of 5% on the average online donation amount of $148, this would generate an additional $465 million of potential annual revenues for a total of $1.7 billion. And from there, we have the opportunity to grow into corporate social responsibility, donor management, and donation processing for a total addressable market of $11 billion. This is my third startup company based here in Pittsburgh. My prior two, Rent Jungle and Community Yelp, were successfully sold in 2014 and 17 respectively. I'm also joined by Mike, Darcy, Michael, and Jayana, who combine a deep mix of technical expertise and experience both working in and selling to the nonprofit sector. So come join us and help us deliver the most intuitive and impactful volunteer engagement software for nonprofits and their champions. Thank you.
Hi, Gung. Thank you so much for the great presentation. I'm really looking forward to judges' questions. So let's kick it off with Neha.
All right, thank you. It's a very unique idea. So my question, and maybe you addressed it a little bit, in your presentation. What is your revenue model? Because there's two layers of engagement, right? You have the volunteers and you have the organizations. So, what is your revenue model in terms of who you're charging and how much, and kind of how do you anticipate scaling that and being sustainable?
Yeah, so we have three channels for revenue. And so the most basic is our SaaS B2B model, where we charge the nonprofit agencies a monthly or annual fee, right? So that ranges anywhere between $30 to $200, to $400 per month, per agency, right? So that's the basics. Then on the donation side, what we do is take a sort of processing fee on top of the donation. So that is more of a consumer-driven or individual-driven revenue stream. And then the last channel we really have is our channel partners. And so whether that's Salsa Labs here in Pittsburgh, maybe it's the United Way that sponsors certain agencies, right, with APOS as an example here again, or even just some other of the foundations that support our work, right? That's a sort of third channel for our revenue generation.
Okay. And have you found, especially the nonprofits that you're working with, is there, what is their price sensitivity to having a recurring, sort of, I guess, monthly fee that you're charging? What do you anticipate?
Yeah, so we try to make sure, so we tested our pricing, pretty extensively over the past, couple of years that we've been around. And so we try to make sure that we're affordable, right? You can't make an impact if they can't afford you. Sure. And so the pricing we offer, I think, is actually very compelling to the agencies. And so, I think most people are surprised, right? So let's say a Habitat Pittsburgh here in the city, right? They probably have anywhere between a $3 to $5 million annual budget. So paying $100, $150 per month is really not unaffordable for them, right? It's very reasonable, especially when you think about how much work they put in to manage the thousands of volunteers they have every year.
All right, Thank you.
Thank you, Nehal. Juan, could you jump in with a question or two?
Sure. One quick question, and then I have a question on the market or the go-to-market strategy. But on the model, what is the variation in the SaaS fees? You mentioned sort of $30, I think, to $400 per month. What's the cause of the variation in those fees?
Yeah, so the primary driver is really just the number of volunteers you have that you manage. So it's sort of value-based pricing. So we look at active volunteers over the course of a year. Now there are some variations. So we have a product that we launched with Mentor National out of Boston, and that tracks mentorship engagement. And so that's a little bit of a different model, but our core sort of volunteer management piece is just number of volunteers that you have.
Got it. Okay. And then it sounds like you've got some great traction with mostly Pittsburgh area organizations. I'm curious as to what your broader go-to-market strategy will be as you expand outside of the region.
Yeah, so we serve customers across, I think, 12 or 13 states right now. And so as an example, one of our channel strategy or growth strategies is a little bit of a land and expand. So we serve a lot of habitats. I think we have 21 affiliates today. And so we started serving one, then we had another. And that's really great from a product market fit standpoint, because building for a specific sort of sub vertical, you can be very, very specific and make sure that you're sort of the best in class for them. And so, for example, so that's habitat, and then we have, animal shelters is another good one for us, food pantries. And so that's one of our expansion strategies across the US. And then, of course, to your point, Juan, right, we also look at building a little bit of density within regions, because we do think that over time, there can be some network effects if you get enough of the market.
Thank you.
Thanks. And last but not least, Bobby, do you have any questions for Gung?
Yes, Gung, congratulations on this. I've followed in the press some of the stories. It's really cool what you're doing. My first question is almost more of a philosophical one, which is that you're a successful entrepreneur and you've had some exits, and then your next foray, you go into like, I'm going to help nonprofits, and it's kind of like, well, that's an interesting kind of shift. So I'm curious what the reason was for pursuing this specifically. It's just that it's neat to see.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I think as you know, Bobby, the big challenge as an entrepreneur oftentimes is managing your sort of mental psyche and sort of your internal enthusiasm for the work that you're doing. And sometimes you have your ups and downs. And I came to realize this during my last two startups that I did, right? And part of what I wanted to make sure this time around is that I could be passionate about what I'm working on, right? And I truly, really believe that if you can ignite volunteerism and service in our communities, you have the ability to build empathy, right? You have the ability to bring people together. It's one of the few ways that people across ethnic, political, whatever lines, right, are actually rubbing shoulder to shoulder in a way that's very positive. And so I think having a mission that you can really, really believe in helps in those less than stellar moments that that always happen. And so that's I think a big part of this. And then frankly, there is a little bit of privilege in terms of having some of those exits that allows me perhaps this time around to do something that has more of a social impact as well.
Yeah, and it just kind of to follow on that theme along those lines, like what does long-term success really look like to you with this business?
We love to be the go-to platform for volunteerism, full stop, right? There's no Yelp, there's no Google, there's no sort of category defining company in this space today, right? When you think, hey, I want to volunteer today, where do you go? How do you engage in an easy way, right? And so that's what we want to be in the long run. Is when you think about volunteering, you think Civic Champs, right? Like I'm going to pull up the Civic Champs. I can find things. I can sign up for things. It tracks. It's kind of fun. It's engaging. I can donate on it if I want to, right? So that's sort of the end vision: is how do we become the category defining sort of app or software for this sector.
Thanks. And I mean, this was something that just kind of popped into my mind. I'm just interested, given the nature of volunteerism, how was the last year? What did the last year in the pandemic kind of do to your, how you were approaching this?
Yeah, it was initially a little rough. Not gonna lie. So there was essentially a stop to volunteerism or organized volunteering in about the March and then April timeframe. There was then a pickup back in starting in May and June of last year, sort of plateaued. We're still around 50% of what you would expect at this time of year. And so we did a couple things. So one, we sort of really narrowed in on our core market, right? So why habitats? They're one of the few organizations financially sound, but also still using volunteers. It's outside, it's relatively COVID-free. So that's one thing we did. The other one is we actually looked at how do we re-engage on our mission, right? We're here to help. So how can we help in the moment? And so we launched a new product and a new service called Helping Hands, which connects neighbors wanting to help with neighbors in need, right? So for whether that's lawn care, right? Whether that's grocery delivery, whether that's pharmacy pickups. And so that was a new thing that we did. And so we're piloting that right now with the support of, the Hillman Foundation, with the support of the Jewish Healthcare Foundation, and, working with PGH Labs in the city of Pittsburgh to, provide a little extra help for city cuts, right? And programs like that. So that's been exciting, and a little bit more on the pro bono side. So we don't charge a fee for that with the agencies.
Gotcha. Thanks, Gun.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, judges, and of course, thank you, Gung. And let's actually before we get into our final presenter, just one last reminder to you guys in the audience to please make sure that you're rating each company. You can go back and rate all the companies that have already presented, but if you have a favorite, make sure you get that vote in, because we are going to be tallying the votes after this last presentation. So if you want to make sure that your favorite moves on to the finals, you got to vote. And again, one reminder to our judges to also get your votes in before this last presenter, because we will be tallying those shortly thereafter. So with that, last but certainly not least, please join me in welcoming David, founder of Aware.ai. David, I think you're still on mute.
Anyone see me now?
There we go. Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm David. I'm the founder and CEO of Aware.ai, where we're leveraging artificial intelligence to transform maternal health one mom at a time. Speaking of moms, let me tell you about 3 of them. Kara Johnson, Emily Dykes, Amanda Garcia. These are 3 mothers who lost their lives from pregnancy complications. Now, what's sad about this is the fact that these women are just a few of many, because in the US, about 700 to 900 women die every year from childbirth. And over 50,000 women suffer from life-altering complications every year in the US from childbirth. See, when I say life-altering complications, I mean women who had to undergo hysterectomies at a very young age. Now, this is scary because it could happen to anyone. I'm talking about your spouse, your daughters, people you care deeply about and love. Now, what's heartbreaking about this? The US. The US is the worst in terms of maternal deaths compared to other industrialized nations. Now, I'm sorry to say this, but it gets worse. So let me tell you about something that is absolutely unforgivable. The fact that according to the CDC, 60% of these deaths and complications are preventable with effective maternal health education and access to standardized care and resources. So let me tell you about our approach. We are creating access while taking a smarter approach to maternal health education using AI. We connect users to community resources based upon their pregnancy needs before, during, and after pregnancy, while helping to reduce information overload by providing personalized and actionable maternal health education. See, we believe it's just not enough to tell a mom who is pregnant that her diet is bad, but we also want to show her where and how she can get access and help with food and meals. Let me show you how this works. Guided by extensive customer discovery interviews with new and expectant moms, healthcare C-level executives, and professionals across the United States, we came up with a prototype. We focused on learning more about the user and then let the AI get to work. The feedback we learned is used to proactively match users to community resources. As you will see shortly on the screen, we've matched this user to food resources, shelter, and even the transportation that she needs for her next hospital visit. Now, as we keep learning about the user throughout the entire pregnancy journey, the AI is able to now provide personalized pregnancy education to the mother. Our initial target users are women of childbearing age in the US who have health insurance. This presents a $1.2 billion total addressable market. We're entering this market with making insurers, and we plan to bundle our app solution as part of the maternal care plan of their patients at a cost of around $20 per patient per month. We are currently in close talks with one of the largest Medicaid insurers here in Pennsylvania, and we're looking forward to launching a part of our product by Q4 this year. Our go-to-market strategy involves starting local right here in Pittsburgh, and we're working to strategically grow our network of partners who can serve our users. We have a top-notch technical team from CMU School of Computer Science working diligently on developing our product. Our team of advisors come with decades of combined experience in maternal health and healthcare, especially within the Pittsburgh area. Now, this will be crucial in helping us forge our initial key community partnerships. Now, above all my credentials and years of industry experience, what I bring to this team is the passion for this subject, which will be crucial in helping the company succeed and directing our vision. We've also been recently accepted into the NSF Corp program and the Project Olympus incubator program here at Carnegie Mellon University. We are looking to solve a big problem in a big market with big implications for this country, transforming maternal health, one mom at a time. I want to thank you all for this opportunity, and thank you to everyone watching this live across the world. Now, I'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Let's move over to our judges. Juan, I think you're up first.
Sure. Thank you so much, David. Really impressive pitch and an absolutely critical problem that you're helping to solve here. I guess I'm curious on a couple of things. One, it seems like your solution is focused on sort of social determinants of health and helping to identify some key issues at an early stage in a pregnancy, and then connect the user to some resources that will help alleviate some of those risks. I guess one, I'm curious about, what have you seen in your research about the most significant of those sort of social determinants of health that cause these at-risk pregnancies? And then two, how do you ensure that the user actually follows through on the advice and the connections that you're making available to them?
Sure. So the first question you asked about what have we seen that determine all these outcomes? Let me just start by explaining how we're actually looking at the solution to this problem. So the biggest piece of the puzzle from what we've seen in our customer discovery is the access piece. So there's a lot of women who just don't even have access to basic food. Some women don't actually even have access to go on, have the right transportation that will take them to their appointments. So what we've seen is that, in fact, there's been a study that has been done recently in collaboration with UPMC, where they had a similar system that actually checked in with patients and gave them rides to their appointments. They saw an attendance improvement from their patients to their appointments from the number of 50% to about 90%. Now, it sounds very, very, very little, but these little things really have a big impact in the health of the mom. Now, to the second part of your question, I think if I just want to make sure I remember. Could you hold the second part, please?
Yeah, I was just referring to compliance, basically.
Yes, compliance.
How do you ensure that they do that? But it sounds like you sort of partially answered with the first.
I tried to still give both of the answers, but maybe I'll shed more light to your question. Now, our strategy the way we think about our strategy is, I mentioned earlier, we're starting with Medicaid providers, and now this is very crucial. The reason is because we've had talks with some of these providers, and they are very, very interested in not only just the final outcome of the health of the mom, but are their patients actually having a healthy life? Are they actually eating well? Are they actually going to their appointments? Because all these things add up to the actual outcome that the patient gets at the end of the day. So really, the whole holistic system we're looking at is trying to address all the things we can do to get to that positive outcome at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Juan. Bobby, do you have any questions for David?
Sure. Thanks, David. This is really, it's great work you're doing. It's pretty personal to me. And one of the challenges I feel like generally is that there's just so much information that gets thrown at women around pregnancy. And so how do you go about ensuring that your platform rises to the level where these pregnant and expecting women are actually getting access to it and are using it when they've got to kind of sift through all this stuff?
Right. That's an excellent question. And let me just tell you this. We spent time talking to over 50 different pregnant moms, and some of them who just had babies. And here's the one thing they said. On average, while they were pregnant, they spent about 3 to 6 hours just searching online for information. And then what happens is that you get paralyzed, you give up, you have anxiety, and it's a serious problem. And now if you actually try to understand the effect of this long term or downstream, looking at actually the system of how that actually affects the mental health of the mom is a whole separate issue. Now, how do we address this appropriately? So what we're doing is in our system, we have this check-ins. We have this daily check-in that we do to assess how the mother is doing. And what we do is based on that feedback, we show the information that actually matters to you, that's personalized to you. So for instance, right now, we know there is well-documented outcomes or studies for pregnancy. And we know, for example, in the third trimester, preeclampsia is a very serious issue that needs to be taken seriously. And at that point in time, you're looking for things like, for example, is there blurry vision? Are there swelling the limbs and extremities? So once you start to get our feedback from the mom on our system, we can start to push the information about preeclampsia and asking the question about, have you actually looked into preeclampsia? Have you talked to a doctor about it? So we're limiting the information that you see until when we see that it's an issue that requires to be addressed, that information to be addressed.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. And Nehal, would you like to close us out?
Sure. So thank you, David, again. And my question to you is, I want to piggyback off of something Juan asked earlier, and that is you're looking at social determinants to assess risk. I would imagine that, there would be some value in combining social determinants with medical determinants. So is that something that you envision your platform doing? That's one. And two, how do you access that medical data that is going to lead to those medical determinants to assess risk?
I think I'll answer the second question first, but I think to answer the first question. So the way we see this going is we're starting with the access piece. How do we connect women to resources that will help them navigate their pregnancy? And as we do this over time, we're collecting information from them. We're actually asking them questions, having all these check-ins, and understanding how they are doing for their pregnancy. Now, over time, as we scale into just from Medicaid insurance to private insurance, the AI model gets smarter, knowing you more about your entire pregnancy journey, and then we can now make specific recommendations that actually impact you on your own personal health. So in the future, we do envision a situation where we can start to combine, once we have a robust model, we can start to combine some other medical history of the patient to have better assessments. But it all starts with our thought process is how can we move the needle on this problem as quickly as possible? And what we've seen is the access piece is such a big issue. If we can start there and start to learn over time and get a model that actually has enough critical mass, we can actually see, we hope to see more the impact we believe that we could see in the next couple of years.
And how would you compare yourself, or do you see yourself as a complement to existing solutions, similar solutions that are provided by the insurance companies?
Yes, absolutely.
That have access to the medical data?
Absolutely. Let me tell you two things that we've heard over and over again. Let me start with hospital systems. So it costs the hospital system about $300 to $500 per patient per missed appointment, per pregnancy appointments. So to them, when these appointments are being missed, it's a problem for them. Now, on the insurance end of the spectrum, when the insurer wants the outcome of the patients to be good, because those outcomes are tied to what is called the Hughes measures, which factor into the funding they get from the U.S. government. So everything is solved by an ecosystem that we are well prepped up to provide value to both sides. And as we integrate with these systems, we're going to start to collaborate even on deeper levels and even enhance our product quality.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, and a quick thank you again to all of our judges. So with David's presentation, we've now heard from each of our founders, and now our three judges have their work cut out for them. They've been tallying scores throughout the evening, but now is their chance to get those last scores in. Thank you again to all of our founders for joining us today. I speak for all of One Valley when I say that we are so impressed with each and every one of you and really look forward to being in Pittsburgh and being able to see what the future really holds for all of you. So we're going to take a few minutes, tally up those scores, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We had a very interesting judges deliberation, which we will get to momentarily. But really quickly, before we dig into which startups are going to be progressing on to the finals event, I want to talk to you about our audience prize. This individual will walk away with 1 free year of premium passport membership. And the winner goes to Brandon, co-founder and COO of Tempore. Congratulations and welcome to Passport. We will be reaching out shortly to help you claim your membership. And as a brief reminder to the audience, if you also do not already have a Passport account, please use the code Pittsburgh Challenge for 25% off of your premium Passport membership. If you're Pittsburgh based, head over to the Pittsburgh Entrepreneurship Platform to take advantage of our launch rate of $99. Starting on June 24th, prices will go up. So this is your chance to get in on that low introductory rate. Now, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and head into our finalist announcements. So we're going to go into gallery mode. So I'm going to ask that all of our founders at this time, please turn on your video cameras. We want to see all of your smiling faces. To the winners, once you're announced, please feel free to unmute and say a few words. We'd love to hear how excited you are for the finals. And if there's anything, any last call to actions that you want to share with the audience, please take the stage and feel free to do so. Before we move on, I just want to share a little bit about what happened during our judges' deliberation. This has never really happened before in an event like this. We did have a 3-way tie on our judges' scoring for the top 3 that will move forward, but we promised you an audience vote and we are going to stand true to that promise. So we will actually have 4 companies moving forward to the finals after the event today. So we're going to go ahead and get into those finalists now. The first company that was selected in that 3-way tie by our judging panel this evening is Rubidetection. So Sana, do you want to jump on and say a few words, last words to the audience?
Hi, hold on 1 second. Hi, can you see me?
Yep, we can see you.
So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I think our solution is going to have a huge potential impact. And I always appreciate the support from the community at a high level.
Thanks so much, Sana. We are also very excited about the future of Rubidetection and really look forward to seeing you present live on our stage on July 8th. And so the next company selected by our judges that will be joining Sana on our stage on July 8th is Talk Me Up.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Really looking forward to move forward. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much, JJ. We are also very much looking forward to seeing you at the finals. And finally, our third judges pick in that 3-way tie is going to be eStat Actuation.
Thanks, everyone. We're very honored and yeah, really looking forward to pitching and seeing everyone in person in July.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stuart. We are looking forward to it as well. And finally, the fourth company that's going to be moving forward to the finals on July 8th, your audience choice is Civic Champs. So Gung, if you want to unmute as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. And obviously, thank you to everyone that voted. We're super excited to move on to the finals. So yeah, the space is beautiful and looking forward to seeing it.
Thanks so much, Gung. I'm really looking forward to having you. And congratulations to all 4 of our finalists that'll be joining the 3 finalists from our first semifinals event. So we will now have 7 companies pitching live on our stage on July 8th. And thank you, of course, to our judging panel, Nehal, Bobby, Juan. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you all again on July 8th. So before we end, I would like to remind all of you of our grand finals event that's happening on July 8th. I think I've said it about 100 times now this evening, but just one last time, July 8th at the Roundhouse in Hazelwood. We would love to have you there. So please follow the link in the chat to RSVP. And I want to take a moment to thank you, the amazing audience, and to remind you that you can connect with any of the startups that were featured today via the Meet the Startups tab at the top of the page. If you want to lock in your chance to tour the soon-to-be One Valley Innovation Center, please visit theonevalley.com/tour Pittsburgh. On behalf of myself and One Valley, thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you again to all of our founders. We can't wait to have each of you back soon. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.